Okay, welcome again, everyone, to this webinar. So just a few housekeeping notes before we start. This webinar will be recorded, and we'll be sending the recording link to all registrants through email by the week. If you have any questions, please use the chat box at the bottom of the screen, and we will be available to answer any questions that you may have in regards to the presentation. Yeah, my colleague Patricia will be on hand also to answer any questions, more detailed technical questions that I need. Also, if you could help us complete the feedback form at the end of the webinar, there will be a QR code for you to scan. You can just scan and then you'll be directed to the feedback form on the Google Docs. Also, that once you complete the feedback form, we will be sure to send you the slides. All right, so without further ado, can I get the next slide, Jeremy? Yes, okay, so thank you again to basically joining our webinar, how to effectively engage a remote workforce during FMCO. Sorry, what was that? Yeah, so basically this is an interactive online workshop. We are just out in online HR cloud software as a service solution. Yeah, and we are working together with BusyBuds, online HR training consultancy, to basically demonstrate how to effectively run virtual meetings and how to keep your workforce engaged remotely through the use of business digitalization tools, as well as cloud-based HR management solutions during FMCO. Yeah, so as part of the panel, I have my regional HR manager, Jeremy Lee from Just Log In, as well as the founders. Yeah, hi, Jeremy. As well as the founders of BusyBuds, Kathy and Isabel, whom most of you have made yourself acquainted to just now. All right, so I guess I think Isabel and Kathy can kick things off first with their part of the presentation.
We'll be happy to. Thank you so much, Ivan, for a great introduction. So I'm just going to ask if you can stop sharing screen, and then Kathy will take over. Fantastic. So everyone who came early and on time to interact with us, we loved having you guys on board. And we are just so excited to go through what we've got today. We are genuinely happy to have you join us today because it's been a crazy ride as online meetings become more frequent and face-to-face connections are drastically reduced. But today, we hope to do two things for you guys. Show you, one, that it is possible to build a higher level of connection online than what you have been faced with. And two, hopefully you walk away with some quick to apply tools and reflections to implement in your working groups. Now, I know some of you would have received an email with the tool that we would be using in this session. But after checking the background of everyone who's been coming into the session, and also to make it more relevant to you, we have given you that tool as a self-reference tool. So it's just a simple journey map, which you can use as your own template to work through how you'd like to run your next meeting or next session. But we're not going to be covering that specifically within this session. Instead, we're going to be covering a lot of the main points on how to engage with people pre-session and in the session itself. So a little bit about BusyBuds, right? We are a training, coaching, and consulting firm. And what we do is we actually do a lot of facilitated workshops and meetings. We have life and executive coaching, and we do customized talent management programs. Why are we presenting on this specific topic today? There are a lot of training companies out there, right? But this is because since the start of the pandemic, BusyBuds has focused on designing the best possible experiences when it comes to virtual workshops. And we've spent so much time just researching on managing behaviors, mindsets, working dynamics of individuals and teams. So in this area, since 2020, we have trained over 300 participants across 4 continents, with at least 30% of people coming back to tell us just how much their engagement and online work sessions have improved within the first 2 weeks of completing full workshops with us. So we are your BusyBuds facilitators for today. You've got the ever lovely Kathy Fernandez, the other lady in red who's got her video on right now. She adds value,
Hi,
especially.
everyone.
Thanks, Kathy. So Kathy is someone who adds value in the areas of process facilitation and experiential learning. While myself, I am someone who adds values in the area of design thinking and event curation. So this is where I bring in a lot of the content on how to design specific content for better user experiences. Both of us are certified trainers and coaches. So now that we've got all that boring stuff out of the way, let's get into the real gritty part of it. What are we going to do today, and how shall we do it as we go into our session? So a quick catch up on some norms that we would like to introduce you guys to. One, we would love to see your faces throughout the session so we can all interact better. However, we would encourage you to keep your mics muted other than when we have discussions or questions to share. So please do mention your name when you speak so that we can scroll over to see you. We don't quite know everyone by name just yet. So I'd really like to identify the voices who are speaking to us and appreciate you for it. Feel free to use the chat box. Kathy's already been in there typing out as much as she can. And we'd like you to interact with each other, get to meet new people, right? And seeing as there are many things out there that are not within our control, namely internet connectivity, we would appreciate if you could please practice virtual patience. Other than that, have a notebook on standby. We do have some activities for you to do together with us. This is not your regular webinar. And while it's not written down up on the screen, here's a pretty important session norm as we learn together. Have serious fun. All right, so I'm just gonna ask, thank you, Arul. I see your videos on, Ian, your videos on too. I'd like to call out on the others to come turn on your videos as well as we go on into our next activity. So right now I wanna just run us through the agenda as well. We're gonna be having a quick check-in activity where all your videos will need to be on. So if you need to arrange your hair, put a little bit of color on your cheeks if you feel like it, it's all up to you. Wanna come on in your home attire? We're good with that too. Later, we're going to be talking through all these different things on the agenda. So this is for you to have a clear idea of what we're doing and where we're going. All right. I'm just going to go kick off into it because we're going to have 40 minutes together for this. So let's keep it tight and impactful as possible. This is actually a preview of a full program we run for middle managers who are transitioning and managing new roles. So a little more on that later. Right now, let's get into the fundamentals of what we're going to learn today and how we're going to actually improve our remote team engagements. But first, let's kick off with a little icebreaker activity. So the name of the game is Spirit Animal. I would like everyone to look at the 6 animal options that are up there on the screen, all right? And select an animal that you think best represents you, either in personality, how you feel right now, anything that makes you feel like, okay, I relate to this animal, right? Hi, Peter. Thanks for turning on your camera. Putri, so good to see the lovely Putri on screen as well. Nice. Okay, so I'm going to keep this photo up here for just a moment. Everyone, you have 30 seconds. Think of your animal and why, all right? Have it in mind. Joachim, nice to see you. Join us. I remember you from photo book last time.
I have to choose the animals from what your desktop is it?
Yes, one of the animals that are up there.
Okay.
Great
right.
clarifying question, Putri. Thanks. All right, so now that everyone has had a chance to look at the animals and picked one, I would like you all to turn off your cameras. I'm going to ask Kathy to stop sharing screen as well. Okay, we're going to go into gallery view. You're going to have 10 seconds. Strike a pose, practice your pose, get comfortable with it, because when we turn on the cameras, everyone is going to strike a pose of the animal of their choice, okay? I'm turning mine off too. So 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Turn it on. Give me your best pose. Nicely done. I'm going to ask for a quick photo. So I'm going to set it up. 3, 2, 1. Okay, for those of you who did not turn your cameras on, I would love to hear in the chat box. It's okay if you're a little shy. And for everyone who did actually strike a pose, I'd like to give us a round of applause. This is the sign language sign for applause. So every time someone steps out of their comfort zone and does something amazing, we're going to celebrate them. Great. Thank you so much, everyone who participated with us. I've seen some pretty interesting animals up on the screen. So I want to ask Arul, can you tell me what was your animal and why?
Yeah, there was a poor, representation of a fox.
Can you recreate it for me right now? If you don't
No idea. I don't embarrass myself.
It is not embarrassing at all. I was quite impressed. I was like, Damn, this is the guy who's got guts. Nice one, Arul. And I do have a photo to share with you later of your pose, so it will be forever in our hearts. Why was it a fox, Arul? Can you tell me? I'd love to understand more.
I didn't think deeply through, but I think it's more about me being cautious with this this seminar today. So I'm just slowly coming in, being cautious.
A fox is cautious. A fox is also very crafty. So I believe whatever comes out through this seminar or webinar, you will be able to take away and make your own.
Hope so.
I'm pretty sure. Good job, Arul. Thanks for sharing. Next, I'd like to hear from, let's see, Joachim. I'd love to hear from you.
Sure. I think it was a little bit hard for me to select between an ox or a leopard.
Mm-hmm.
I suppose the image in the middle is a leopard. I think that in the end I chose leopard. Hence the reason just now I was doing that. Right, it's like a cat, like that, right? I think it's because of this agility and speed as well. Kind of like best represents me. Whereas I think for the ox side, it's really all about. I think that I've been quite a hard worker. Yeah.
So if I could imagine it, it's like the hybrid animal of an ox and a lion. So it's like,
yeah.
very nice. The locks. That's a good one, Kathy. So thank you for sharing that unique animal that I've now discovered today, the mythical lox. We have one in our group with us today who will bring with him the hard work and the speed and agility that both animals bring to the table. So thank you, Joachim, for sharing that insight about yourself. I'd like to encourage everyone else to take a moment. We're going to try what is called the waterfall technique. So I'd like to give you 10 seconds to just quickly type into the chat box the name of the animal that you selected. Kathy, if you can bring up the photo of the animals again for anyone who needs to see it for reference. And just one word or a sentence why you chose that animal. When I say enter, we all click enter at the same time. All right, so your 15 seconds to type starts now. All right. 1, 2, 3, click enter. Oh, panda. It is lovely and cute, Ian. I see so many people like the panda because it's cute. You guys are very cute too, as I can see your expressions clearly on the screen. Shamis, so I see we've got an entire tribe of pandas over here. That's really good. Amri, you are an eager leopard. Very nice. Kathy is also a fox full of curiosity and playfulness, and Ivan is the isolated fox, the one who likes to work on his own. Great sharings in the chat. Thank you everyone for participating. Peter, I'm going to take note. Aggressive and agile is the way to go. All right. So thanks for participating, guys. Feel free to steal any of the activities you see in our session and just tag us whenever you do, because we'd like to see how you've used it as well. You can always just tag us at busybuds.co on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. We're on all the major social media platforms. Why we did this particular activity, and this is part of the learning, right, is getting physical in an online setting is important to shake things up, especially if you have just come out of a stream of back-to-back meetings. It doesn't have to take away from the seriousness of the meet or the importance of what is being discussed, but it does help get everyone on the same page. And for us, the right frame of mind is to be playful and curious today, which is why we ran this activity. So what's really important for an activity to succeed, even if not everyone is turning on their cameras here, be confident and demonstrate that you are willing to do it first. That makes all the difference. So if I'm going to ask you to do something in this session, I'm going to do it to a level 10 all the way through with my whale, just so that I can encourage you to do the same. So yeah, learn as much from what we do as from what we say throughout the rest of this session. I'd like to go into a little bit more of our sharing. Thanks for energizing me in the start of our workshop together, guys. I'm going to ask Kathy to pull up the slides again. Thank you so much. And now let's talk about things we all know very well. The work from home woes that we are all going through. So I remember talking to Anne just now. She's been working from home since last year and has hardly gone out. She's all the way in Johor Bahru. I'm sure these are things that we've become quite connected with, guys, in the past as we go through a lot of meetings with clients, with our teams. You know, there's burnout, overload, Lots of micromanaging. Who here had a company at some point of time or have heard about companies where bosses are like, sign in at 9 o'clock. I want to know that you're at your desk or working at 9 o'clock. Or I need to know that you've done your job this way, micromanaging. And what's worse, how many of you have been in the seances where it's like, do you hear me? Do you see what I see? Are you with me? Is everyone in the room? No, it is not an exorcism. It is in fact disconnection. So the question that comes to us is, are we now working in a rhythm or are we stuck in a rut? Some of us might even be somewhere in between, right? And today I'd like to talk to you about ways that we can create rhythm. So there are two ways that we're going to talk about creating rhythm today. And one is regarding the ways of working. So this is outside of our engagements online. How do we work together with the people that we're on the same team with? This is where we focus so that we're not just doing things on autopilot. Then we're going to talk about meeting revamps, because meetings are such a huge part of our day, right? I'm sure this is not the first, and if it is the first, it's not going to be the last session that you're going to be online for during the day, right? So I'm going to ask Putri if you could mute yourself right now, because I think we can hear some of your background noise. No worries. Yes, so in creating rhythm, there are two key areas we're going to look into, which is building rituals and expectations. So rituals are things that are done every day to help us create a shared identity, alignment, and move towards action. Psychology Today states that one of the most important features of rituals is that they do not only mark time, they create time. In other words, rituals build meaning into how we spend our minutes. Now, I might be introducing some new terms and concepts. If you're confused or if I'm going too fast, please type it down into the chat box and I will do my best to catch you up, or Kathy will supplement any of the answers you need in there. So when it comes to expectations, there is a saying that expectation is the mother of disappointment. I would say that unsaid expectation is the grandfather of all disappointment. So let's mitigate this frustration and disappointment by better managing and being explicit about expectations. It's something very simple. A lot of us know if we know what to expect, we know how to behave. But there are little tweaks and things that we can do for these things that we take for granted, which would make all the difference as we go into working remotely. Because being clear helps to diffuse emotionality, blame, and encourages people to be more involved. So both rituals and expectations build new habits in your teams that eventually become a way of working or a norm. So I'd like to go into a little bit more on the ways of working. And Kathy is going to take us through how to revamp meetings. So for ways of working, our objective in redesigning the ways of working is so that we make it more authentic, we create connection, and take your remote engagements from basic to bold. All right. So what would we do to achieve this objective, to create connection, be authentic, and go into a bold space? Here are a couple of really quick win ideas you can immediately take back and apply. So for one, this is something BusyBuds team does all the time. It's our daily stand-ups. Taken from the Scrum methodology, these sessions are meant to be strategic. It keeps the team informed, connected, and calibrated throughout the game of the day and week. It emphasizes on what we have to accomplish. Notice we, not just I, because it's important that the whole team is on the same page of what's going to be happening. And think of it like a team huddle before a big sports game. When the football team comes into the room, they speak to their coach, and then they break and go out to play the game for the rest of the day. The team in a Scrum-like stand-up looks to answer three things, right? And these three things are things that you can answer within your groups as well. I've put it into the chat box for your easy reference. It's one, what did I work on yesterday? Or what has been completed? Two, what am I working on today? And three, what issues are blocking me from completing some of my tasks? because identifying the challenge is a huge part of actually being able to tackle it, right? Some tweaks that BusyBuds has done, for example, is instead of what did I just work on yesterday, Kathy and I, when we work on mini projects together, we ask ourselves the question, what were the big outcomes we created yesterday? So that we are showing that as a team, we are more outcome driven than output driven. So take these 3 questions, tweak it to whatever suits your team, and see if these daily stand-ups help you in your meetings and throughout your work environment. Next, I'd like to talk a little bit about team norm setting. So we looked at clarifying what we're working on when we answered the issue of when we spoke about the solution of daily stand-ups, right? That's what we're working on. Here we want to share the how we're working on things. So when it comes to team norm setting, unless we decide how we want to work as a team, there will always be a mismatch of time and energy spent, because the reality is we are juggling 101 things daily. No one is going to remember what the other person has on their plate. So remember when we were talking about rhythm? Team norms help us set up a better rhythm. It tells us how we want to spend the rest of the day. So an example of a mini norm is what I've shared in our meeting just now. This is what is expected from you. But what about team norms when we work? So you can talk about allocating chunks of time for collaboration versus individual work, sticking to those blocks of time, understanding how much we need to respect each other's time, setting up communication channels. So yes, for this type of communication, emails are good, but if you need something urgently, you know you're going to need to follow that with a WhatsApp message to follow up. And lastly, it's about understanding the individual environmental situations and what are some of the home expectations of the closest team members that we are working with, right? A lot of factors to take into consideration, but there are underlying themes that pin this all together. And I'd love for Kathy to take us through how we set up for meetings over the ways of working, and what are these underlying principles that we need to talk about. Over to you, Kathy.
Thanks, Belle. Handing the slides to you. So that's really great, right? And these are 2 quick ways that you can start using, implementing, trying it out, experimenting. Whatever it is, don't think that just because you've tried something, you have to stick with it. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Try something new. So let's talk about revamping our meetings. And over this past 1.5 years, all of us have probably had to sit in on more meetings than we've ever had to in our entire lives, right? And so I just want to have a quick check with everyone that's here. For those of you who are not having your cameras on, you can respond in the chat. But for those of you who have your cameras on, right, put your hand up if you resonate with what I'm about to ask. So how many of you wish you could just stop having meetings altogether, or at least keep it to a minimum of 1 to 2 focused meetings a day? Either no meetings or 1 to 2 meetings a day. Just go ahead and put your hands up. Is that something you wish was a reality? I know that's a reality for me. I see you, Ian. I see you, Putri. Yeah, that's really great. And I would love to hear from you in the chat as well. How many of you wish, you can just respond yes or no. I see you too, Arul. Late, but never too late, right? So we're just so bogged down with so many things. And if we're sitting in so many meetings, how do we actually get the work done at the end of the day is a huge question. So it looks like if this is something that all of us really, really wish for and desire, and it's a big struggle for all of us, how come we've not redesigned the way our meetings are to match this desire, right? And it might be just because we think, oh, this is the way that it's always been done. Thinking about how I want to do it in a different way requires a lot of thought, and everyone has to get on board. That can be the thoughts that hold us back. But let's look at a couple of things that we can start implementing immediately, right? And so similar to the ways of working, if we were to zoom into remote meetings, there are also rituals and expectations that we would like to build into a session, because the way we gather, the way we meet matters. And so our objective when it comes to redesigning meetings, it should leave us feeling engaged. It should make us feel like we've accomplished a goal. And it should feel either productive or reflective, whichever is the goal, right? A lot of times we go into meetings just for the sake of having a conversation. So first is just setting up what's the objective of that meeting. And so I want to share what's on the slide right now. The quick win is having a pre-session agenda. So some ways you can do this, and we do this for a lot of our meetings, whether it's with client facing or even our team facing. We send an agenda outline of what are the topics we're going to cover, what are the time we're going to allocate into that, and who might be required to share or collaborate in those portions, just so that people get a heads up. You outline the expected outcomes within that given time. We want to achieve thinking of at least 5 ideas or brainstorming. We want to talk about how do we plan for this next event and at least finalize date, time, and name of event, right? So really being clear and inviting people to share their opinion or suggest to add to the agenda, right? Because if we're talking about meetings are a place for collaboration, then we should invite them into that space as well. So that's in your pre-session, right? So for our quick win number 2, if we want to look at how we want to set up the session itself, our meeting itself. In session, we want to, as we shared earlier, setting up the norms. In this session, I expect all of us to be brainstorming. So that means I would like to ask you to share some ideas. No idea is a dumb idea. And we're going to spend 5 minutes to do rapid fire of thinking. So you're setting norms and expectations of how everyone should participate in this session. And then quick check-ins, humanizing the roles we play, humanizing the day that we've been in, because otherwise we're just our role and not the humans behind the roles, right? And then just like you see in this session, having a chat box communication, getting people interacting, connecting, and creating with each other. You want to give everyone a voice within these parameters. And of course, as the meeting lead, if that is your role, or if you're sharing this with your team leads, getting you to model behavior. We all hear, leading, you should lead in the way that you want people to follow you. So if you expect to see some things done online, then you should be leading in that way as well. If you want someone to communicate in the chat box and share their ideas, you have to model that. You have to show them that it's okay, right? And why it's so important to do these things is, I want to borrow from Michael Staniers in The Coaching Habit, where he talks about psychological safety. 5 times a second. This is not a minute. This is not an hour. This is every second. At an unconscious level, your brain is scanning the environment, whether it's virtual or physical, and asking itself, is it safe here? Is it dangerous? Can I participate? Can I share? Can I do this? Can I do that? Your brain is seeking permission to how you're allowed to be in that moment, right? So when your brain feels safe, it can operate at its more sophisticated, intended level. So the best way to get the most out of your short meetings is by setting your expectations, and how you set those expectations are equally important, right? And I want to talk about all of these things together. There are 4 things that really helps to bring it all together. The way that we set up our communication, right? The agenda that we share, the activities that we choose to do, and the roles that we allocate to play, right? So it's not just about doing something for the sake of doing it, but really being purposeful and specific about what we're expecting out of ourselves and out of each other in that session. And here are 3 underlying principles, right? We shared how you can do something, but here's the why. Here's why you need to do it, what's really going to drive these. This is you creating your own why for your meetings, having a clarity of purpose. When you have a clarity of what your meeting should achieve, it helps you to design your communication. Again, all those things that I mentioned earlier, your communication, your agendas, the activities, the roles that you set out. So I want you to imagine that you're on a beach holiday. I would love to be on a beach holiday right now, but imagine you're on a beach holiday and imagine that the person that you're with says, oh, hey, today we're going to go and do some water activities for the day, right? And because you're on a holiday, you think, oh, great. So we're probably going to do some jet ski, maybe some island hopping, maybe some snorkeling, right? But when you get to the site and you get on the boat, you're in the middle of the ocean, suddenly they say, oh, actually, no, we're here to do deep water diving. And that's going to be a shock because you haven't prepared yourself mentally, emotionally, physically to participate in that activity. If that's something you're already used to and you've spoken about previously, then that's fine. But if this is your first time or the first few times, it's going to be a shock to your system. Exactly the same thing when you're asking people to go from just having a meeting where they listen, share their updates, to I want you to collaborate and brainstorm with me. It can be a shock to them mentally, physically, and emotionally, right? And then we look at time and energy. All of us are at home. Previously, I just had a session this morning and we were talking about how previously when in the office, I could just order food or I could go down to the canteen and get food, right? But now I have to think about cooking. I have to think about feeding my whole entire family. I have to think about cleaning up and preparing for the meal in the evening, right? Or the next day. So there's so much energy and time that our brain goes into to just decide what we need to do. So managing your energy is also about managing time. That's why things like the Pomodoro technique works so well, because you're working within a set period of time to accomplish a set outcome. And you want to do that individually as well as a team. And creating space for ownership. We hear almost every single organization that we speak with saying, my people are not being accountable. My people are not owning what they're supposed to own. And that seems to be a really deep cry, right? So unless the meeting is prefaced and set up as a brainstorming session, even in the way that the room is set up, if there's flip charts or now virtually, if you're using a mural board, chat box, the pre-session communication and agenda and the roles allocated, then again, people won't be ready to deep dive with you, right? And also the fact that unless someone is actively involved and feels connected to the conversation at hand, they're not going to take ownership. So these are the three things that you really want to look at weaving into the design of your engagements, whether it's a quick meeting, whether it's your stand-up, whether it is your brainstorming session, whether you're preparing for an event, whatever it might be. These are three underlying principles, the why to the how and the what that you do, right? Great. And so today, even in this session, we encourage you to choose to be radically remote and to do so purposefully. It is not impossible to do things in a fun and engaging way virtually. So we're going to do a quick activity. And I'm just going to ask Belle to go on to the next slide, right? So this is, think about how you currently run your meetings or your sessions or your brainstorming, whatever it might be, the way that you engage with your teams. Think about how would you rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10, the engagement of your current meetings and ways of working, right? And we're going to ask that you type it out in the chat box. Go ahead and type it out in the chat box. What would you rate your current meetings and ways of working? So I see Santra Kala has said 6. It's at a 6. That's great. You're not at a 1, which is excellent. Arul has said 5, right in the middle, kind of buoyant there. Ian has said 7. Michelle, 8. Danan has said 8. That's really exciting. I would love to know also what makes it at a 5, 6, 7, 8 for you guys, right? But that's really great that you're at that place. And now we want to think about, where would you like your meetings to be? The way that you currently interact with your teams, the way that they respond to you. If you can type in the before and after. So I want to go from a 5 to an 8. Right? On a scale of 1 to 10, where would you like yourself to be? Where would you like your team meetings to be? And the ways of working. So Arul, I see you that you've put from a 5 to a 9. I really like the ambition and the jump that you want to make. I also would like to believe that there's some confidence now going through the session that you're like, you know what, I can start using this and making that a reality. Putri, you said 6. Wonderful. Joachim, you'd like to make that 1 inch of a difference, the 8 to a 9. Ian as well, from a 7 to a 9. Michelle, great. So I'm going to ask, let me call out Ian. Ian, so earlier you shared that you are at a 7 right now and you'd want to go to a 9. What's making that 9 pull you? What's making that 9 exciting for you?
Then it will be more efficient overall, and then the time can be well spent, and we don't spend too much time on like meeting and get the results soon.
Nice. So I like that you've used the words results, right? So that already tells me that the objective in your mind for wanting to have better meetings is I want to achieve results, not just have a meeting. So that's nice to hear. Let me see who else is there. Michelle, I know I can't see you, but I would love to hear from you. If you can unmute yourself.
Hi.
Hi, great to see you. So tell me about that, your scale from where you are to where you want to be.
Well, I think right now, because I practice setting out agendas and really just ticking all the boxes in what we want to discuss. I'd like to get it to a 9 because I think there could be a little bit more interactions between conversations. So exactly like you said, using the chat function more. Right now, it's kind of like it's a two-way conversation, but it's really just standard. I'd like to push it beyond where everyone's a little bit comfortable. And
Nice.
open up that boundary where everyone's a little bit more daring to voice out their opinions.
I like that you used words like daring. So like Belle shared earlier, right? Moving it from basic to bold to that daring type of conversation. Very nice. And I guess that you very nicely led us into that next question. And this is something for you to think, take back, and start implementing immediately, right? What would be, this is a question to you, what would be a new process, which could be the ways of working or your meeting revamps, that you want to try setting up for creating better engagement? What would be a new process? It doesn't have to be something that we've shared in the chat. It could be something that's sparked for you. It could be something that you have heard in this session, right? What would you like to try doing? Go ahead and share that in the chat box. You can have a couple of seconds to think about it. It's not a problem. Thanks, Belle. So Bella said, I would like to try asking my participants to run part of the session based on what they know, right? So giving my team that ownership to try running a portion of the meeting. That would be really exciting. Thanks, Belle. What would be a new process? I see some people are furiously typing away. Can't wait to see what you have to share in the chat. In the meantime, I'm going to call out Putri. If you can just unmute yourself and tell me what is a new process you'd like to try.
Well, maybe start asking how was the day, or maybe start jumping first.
I mean, that is so true because, we're sitting at our desk the whole day and everything is just like so tight and so tight and we're just so bound by this desk, right? So even doing star jumps really helps to get that energy up. It helps to get people's blood rising. That means their brains are working more effectively. So that's a really great one, Putri.
Thank you.
I mean,
Thank
Kathy, we've
you.
seen some of our
Yeah.
participants do that as well. They're government civil servants, and in one of their
Yeah.
meetings, they actually, after coming through this, they were like, we want to try physical activities, and we saw them all doing a bunch of star jumps in their session as well. So not impossible.
As long as you're bold and daring, like Michelle said, anything's possible. I want to call on Anne. Anne, I would love to hear from you. And if you're still there, would love to hear from you in the chat. Then I'm going to call out Peter. Peter Lee, you can just unmute yourself and share what's one new process you would like to try.
Hey guys, I think one of the things I wanted to try my team is really to get them to, like have a sense of ownership and really kind of lead out, stand up instead of, having the departmental leaders doing the leading all the time. So each of them will take part in leading out the session. Yeah, I think that would be exciting.
Nice. So I hear the desire that you would want to have your team have more ownership. I want not just the departmental leaders to lead the sessions, but each of the team members to do that. So what's one thing you would want to try or experiment with in your next meeting?
Good questions. I guess perhaps to, actually, I have no idea. I'm still exploring. Perhaps if I can get one of the team to, sorry, my mind is all over the place. There's a lot
That's
of stuff.
okay.
Perhaps allow me to spend some time, and perhaps I would just key in the chat, and if an idea spark, yeah.
Well, I'm really glad that, first of all, you're honestly sharing where your head is at the moment, and that it has sparked some, gears to turn. And sometimes we don't, we sit in the desire state for so long, but we don't move into the action state. So thanks, Peter, for moving into that action state and getting into that ideation space of what would I actually like to try, right? It's not as simple to think of sometimes. I see Arul has said more clarity on objectives as part of setting up the pre-session agenda. Very nice. And would you like to be sending that out as an email, as a note? What would you like to try to do, Arul, with that? If you can unmute yourself too.
No, I think I lead a team of operational heads across. I think very often the discussion always goes into more operation and more urgent. I think it's just that I think we need, like you said, the email or pre-session agenda sent over to focus on what's important and what matters the most.
Absolutely. And something that we try and we've recommended as well is to kind of getting all the updates in one place beforehand, just so that everyone has a read through of all the operational updates, everything. Because to be honest, even when I've sat in operational meetings, while someone else is sharing, I'm like, okay, this is not relevant to me. So I'm just going to scroll on my phone and I'm going to wait for my name to be called, right? So we want to not use this precious time to go for updates, but to look at, okay, what do we need to solve? What do we need to create? So I really like that you're thinking about that, Arul. Thank you. Wonderful. So, it's really great to see that everyone is kind of moving into a reflective ideation space, because we don't necessarily have the time or take the time to think about what we want to do and how we want to do it and why we want to do it. So I'm glad that this session is allowing you to have that space to think about that and to kind of guide and give us a bit more space into that. We'd like to go into our one breath feedback for this session, right? So we've heard about the ways of working, which is the 2 tips. Hold on, let me just get that, which is our daily stand-ups. And we've also shared about the team norm setting. And then we also spoke about revamping our meetings, where we can send pre-session emails outlining agendas, getting people to share their updates, and during the session to set clear roles, modeling behavior, and using the chat box. And we've also spoken about where are you right now versus where you want to be, and what's something you'd like to try out in your next meetings. So in one breath, I'm going to give you about 30 seconds to think. Don't worry. Give you 30 seconds to think about what is one key thing from this session you would want to immediately apply. Right? So we're just going to put 30 seconds on the clock. You would want to immediately apply. It's your circle of influence, your circle of control. Who would you like to speak to? What can you do? And again, as I mentioned earlier, take it as an experimentation. Just because you try something, see how it works. If it doesn't fit, it doesn't fit. You can either, again, revamp it, throw it out, and try something new. But you've got to find that rhythm, what works for your team. Great. And so that's 30 seconds on the clock. I would like to ask everyone to type in the chat box, what is one thing you would like to try applying immediately? And I'm also going to call on a few people to hear from you. So I would like to ask Ron Chin, if you can unmute yourself and share with us, what's one thing you'd like to try? Ron Chin, are you there? All right, I'm going to ask Sanin. I know you've shared in the chat, but it would be great to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, so basically pre-session comms would be better, where I would basically tell them what is the meeting about, and we set an agenda like what Mr. Arul said there, and which will bring the meeting in a very smooth way.
Very nice.
Yep.
Thank you for sharing that, Tanan. I'm looking forward to see how you run your next IT team meetings, knowing that you're one of the key holders of that conversation. Very nice. I'm going to ask Amri if you can unmute yourself and share what's one thing that you've taken away from the session you'd like to try immediately.
Hi.
Hi.
Okay. Actually, the best thing I can try after this is a pre-session meeting. Pre-session communication is more better because we have what we need to put in the meeting before we start the meeting, because before we start the meeting, we need to know what actually data we need to prepare.
Yeah.
Right. So if we not go for pre-session, so the participant in the meeting will just participate but not contribute.
Absolutely. You've got the keywords there, Amri. I like it. Yeah, go on. Was there more to share? Feel free. Amri?
Yeah. Sorry. Because my line is very bad.
Oh, okay. But thank you. So we've heard that you want to get people to move from participating to contributing. And that's a really powerful thing. That's a really powerful desire to hold on to, right? Yeah. I'm also going to call on Shemis. Shemis? I might be getting your pronunciation wrong. Please correct me once you come online. Shamis? No? Okay, so let me ask one more person and then I will hand it over. So I'm gonna ask Aishwarya, what's one thing you'd like to try? Aishwarya? All right. Well, not to worry, but I really want to thank you for all of your sharings, right? Because it is so important that we have that clear purpose, that objective that we do want to achieve. And I see that, okay, Aishu has shared in the chat that she wants to have more pre-session engagement and that her laptop is stuck. No worries, Aishu. Good to know what your desire and what your objective is, right? And so just like Amri shared earlier, it is about really being clear. What do I want to achieve? Do I want to get solutions out of this meeting? Do I want to get a confirmation out of this meeting? Do I need someone to buy into my idea? Do I need to ideate? You want to be really clear of what the agenda of that meeting or workshop or session is with your team so that you get to prepare for that to happen, right? And I really want to thank you from Busy Buds. We'll come back towards the end after our dear friend Jeremy has shared a little bit on how we can move from managing processes to engaging our people. Thank you.
Hi everyone. Hi, I'm Jeremy. I'm the regional HR from Just Log In. Just want to make sure everyone can hear me, can see my slides that are being shared. All good?
Yes, yes.
Just a show of hands. How many HRs I have here? Thumbs up for anyone who's doing HR or doing part of HR. Right, great. I see a few. Good. So I myself is an interesting role being a HR in a HRMS company. So Just Log In, we are a HR management software. We are an online-based platform. It's a subscription model. So let me just share a little bit in terms of some of the digitalization HR processes that we have. All right. So we are based out of Singapore, right? We have our operations in Malaysia where we have the solutions out to be shared with the Malaysian market. So as of now, we do have around 2,000 customers, all right? And the niche market, I think for me as a HR, I've been in companies where we apply leave through paper. We apply, we calculate attendance through WhatsApp, right? And these are challenges, having Just Log In or even platforms online, it helps us to digitalize our processes. And to tap on to what Kathy has mentioned just now, in terms of time and ownership, right? This is where, the new workforce outlook is, which is, what is the new normal? New normal is, especially if you look at Malaysia itself, it's not everyone just based in KL, they are based out of every state, What is stopping us from hiring someone out from Penang, from JB, and when the office is in KL, So having online solutions help us to bridge the gap, and to a certain extent, it makes us more connected, right? So some of the problems which SME face, right? I think this is something which we are all aware, and to a certain extent in terms of engagement, I hear something which Hattie and Isabel has also mentioned, which is in terms of employee-wise, how when you go for meetings, and also shared by Michelle, which is there's too long meetings. People want shorter meetings. People want to be a bit more concise in the things they're able to work on, right? So these are problems that SME faces, poor employee experience, poor workforce visibility. And at the moment now, there's 88% of the workforce that do not want to return to office full-time based on a survey from EY. There's manual HR processes that I shared. So I want to share a little bit from my viewpoint, which is in terms of employee engagement, I think the last thing the employee wants day to day, right, is to look at coming to office, being bogged down with admin processes. How many of you actually submit claims for your own self? Show of hands. How many of you actually do submit claims for your own? And how often do you all spend time to submit your claims on the monthly basis? Maybe you can put in the chat 2 hours a month, 3 hours, just finding the receipt, taking the receipts, scanning them, photocopying them, bundling them together, numbering them, labeling them, bringing it to finance and coming back to you and say, hey, you attached the wrong receipt for the wrong claim, right? So these are things that makes employees feel very frustrated. Even me myself, submitting claims was very frustrating. When I was in my previous company, I spent 1 day to submit my claims. 1 whole day just to submit 50 claims because you need to photocopy things like this. So I just log in. I think what we do is that we offer a more I would say simplified platform for everyone. Right? For me myself, where I just finished my claims today, I spent 2 hours to submit them. I have about 50 claims. Take a phone, take picture of my receipt. There's an AI involved, which auto pulls out the merchant name most of the time, and it makes things easy for me to submit. As a HR, so all this is auto linked to payroll, and when we submit, when we run payroll, everything is in there. One thing good to let everyone know that we are also HDN approved. All right. And I think there's many issues also when you're doing your payroll without a system, right? There's compliance risk, you know, there are also issues in terms of, am I paying the right EPF? When do I start contributing HRDF? You know, do I reach my hit 7 headcount, 8 headcount? As a business owner, you're also worried. You know, when you grow your team, you reach 15 and you start to pay and you forget to contribute HRDF. What happens? The last thing you want is someone knocking on your door, right? So having a software helps you to reduce or eliminate a compliance risk. Okay, so let me just run through the slides a little bit in terms of what does HR Cloud does and how does it helps in terms of employee experience. You know, for one thing, as I shared just now on the expense claim itself, it reduces the employee's time to let them be focused on what they need to do. You know, the last thing you want to pay big bucks to a product IT manager, or even some of us who are business owners or even head of departments, the last thing you want is to bog down 1 hour admin work. And it doesn't seem nice if you give an admin work to a staff to do it. So you do it yourself, but you're bogged down with it. But you have to do it because it's your own money, right? So you're stuck in between, no man's land. So get a software, help yourself, you know? So with here, I do have a short video that I wish to share. Just let me play it. Thank you. So how many of you own a mobile phone? I shouldn't ask this question. Actually, all of you own a mobile phone, right? So everything that you see in this 1 minute video is on our mobile app, right? Applying leave, clocking in, checking your pay slip, submitting your expense, you know, even company as an admin, I want to announce announcements to my staff. It's everything on the app itself. So what it means is HR on the go, right? So this itself also, how does it help in terms of business owners, you know, like you all, to increase engagement? There's also notifications coming in, sending a birthday message, especially now, FMCO stuff. Don't know how are they doing. Birthday is coming, come buy a cake for them. What do? The least you could do is to get a notification internally to send out a greeting to a message to your staff. I say, happy birthday, happy anniversary. These are things that you can do which doesn't cost a dime, but make them feel happy, make them feel engaged, right? So let me just, all right. So this is our mobile app, and we do have a web version where it's all in one. The features are definitely richer than what you have seen on the mobile app, and the administrator can actually use it to process whatever we need in terms of payroll. So the new normal, if you look at it for 2021 onwards, to be frank, we wouldn't actually be returning back to where we were, but we have to adopt technology. We have to adopt, even look into how we can engage our workforce, not just in the traditional method, but also like with the techniques that Katie and Isabel has shared just now. In a remote environment, you know, how do you continue to engage your employees, right? And I believe that this is where, as companies, we need to leverage on technology and also various partners in terms of how we can build the best experience we can for our employees. Wow, I saw, yes, how many mobile phones do we each own? I think I have 3 mobile devices myself, Katie, right? So for just login, we do have leave, payroll, of course, your personnel management and your attendance management, right? So I mean, as a HR myself, I'm using our own software, for my Malaysia employees like Ivan, we are paying them their payroll via our Malaysia payroll, which is LHDN approved. So Ivan, I throw it back to you. Any questions
Jeremy,
that you might, feel free to put it on the chat. Ivan, thanks.
Yeah. Thanks, Jeremy, for the great, wonderful session that you just shared. And also Isabel and Kathy for your really engaging interactive session as well. Yeah, so please come and you can schedule a quick virtual session with us if any of these things actually interested you. Yeah, you can also contact us at the email or the phone number below, and one of our consultants will be sure to answer any of your questions. Yeah, so if you'd like to receive the slides, please help us fill up the feedback form by scanning the QR code. Yeah, and then we'll be sure to email you the slides by next week, I think. Yeah. Also, like, we have a couple of time for Q&A. Yeah, any questions, burning questions within you want our panel to help you answer, feel free to ask them now or forever hold your silence.
Or you can just drop us a message or email, that works too.
Yeah, you can do it the silent way and like chat through the chat box, or you can email us after this. Yeah, but really it's a great engaging session. I certainly learned a lot as well from the BusyBot session. Yeah, I hope Jeremy also can take take 2 cents from that and implement on Just Log In as well.
You want to stand up with me tomorrow morning?
That's the immediate like there.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Jeremy got a few ideas already. Like a few light bulbs went on his head really.
Yeah. A jumping jet before the start of my HR meeting. I think that's something I'll
Yeah, Ivan, we just wanted to ask, would it be possible if we also share what it was that we wanted to offer the participants who came in for this session especially?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so we will send you a link to the feedback form in the follow-up email that we'll be sending to all registrants. So yeah, you can also fill that from there. But yeah, in this case, yeah, so Isabel, you want to share your screen then?
Yep, sure. All right, can you see my screen?
Yes. All
right, great. I'm gonna ask if Kathy can walk us through what we've got up on the board.
Yes, okay, so this is a workshop and some modules that we do conduct for middle managers looking to win in the workplace, right? A lot of us are stuck managing the up and the down. We're like the middleman. And so this workshop series is called Caught in the Middle. And it looks at how do we clarify our beliefs and actions, the collaboration and strategic skills that we can use, aligning our whys between our team and our organization, looking at building accountability and ownership, and managing time and stakeholders up, down, across, whichever way that you need to manage it. Because it's not just about managing ourselves, it's about managing our teams, it's managing our bosses, our peers. There's a lot that it takes to really win in the workplace as a middle manager. And so for those of you who are here, we'd like to really appreciate the time that you spent with us and offer you a 20% off in this workshop modules as well. It is customizable. It is able to look at what fits your needs, because understanding that each organization and each team is different. So if you are interested, you can just go ahead and type it in the chat box, and we'll be sure to catch up with you and connect with you and send you some material on what you can look out for. And of course, don't forget to stay connected to us. You can find us on our socials, busybuds.co, and our YouTube, LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook. We try to share as much free materials and insights as possible. We also look at sharing all of our participants, what they're doing and how they've started to make their lives and their workplaces that much more engaging and change the culture little by little. So if you are interested, go ahead, let us know in the chat. You can connect with us on our virtual. This is some of our past participants from organizations as well as public programs. All right. Yeah, that's all from us. Ian, Ivan, sorry, back to you.
Yeah, okay, thank you. So once again, yeah, so I guess if nobody has any more questions they would like to ask, we are free to end this session. But yeah, we feel free to ping us at all the, the contact details that we just shared with everyone. Yeah, we're always free to talk, Yeah, thank you to Ian for attending the session. Yeah, so I guess, yeah, I wish everyone to stay safe during this FMCO. Please adhere to SOP. Is the only way to, how to say, flatten the curve. Yeah, so yeah, wish everyone, yeah, a good and healthy FMCO, and yeah, hopefully we get out of this as soon as possible.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for bringing your lovely selves, energies, and patience into this room. I hope that you have benefited from this as much as we have benefited from listening to you. Busybuds, for one, I know definitely loves the cooperation we've had with Just Login and with each of you that have collaborated with us today to make this session all that it is. Take care, everyone.
Take care. Be bold. Be daring. Bye.